Hi everybody, this is the exercise feedback section. This is new content that I decided to add to the course because I got some very good feedback from my students, and what my students were saying is that the course doesn't really give them enough opportunities to practice the ideas, and that sometimes there's not enough detailed explanation of those ideas. And so in these videos, I'm going to go through the exercises with you and just explain a little bit more about why those answers are correct. So it's really important that you actually have a go at these exercises first before you watch the video. If you're watching this on Udemy, the resources are available in the resources section of the course. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please go to my website for the resources. The link is in the description below. Okay, so let's get started on section 2. Okay, let's get started. This is the section on basics. So we're starting with class. Exercise 1 is you need to look at the introduction paragraph from the story Rapunzel and classify the words according to their word class. So we've got nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, articles and conjunctions. All right, let's just scroll down to the answers because I'm assuming that you have done this already. Okay, so in that text, man is a noun because it's a thing. So is woman. And the test for nouns is if you can put the in front of it, then it's a noun. Okay, so in this case, the man, the woman, the child, they're all nouns. Now you can't say the Who, really, unless you're talking about the 1970s rock band from England, but in this case, who is a pronoun, so we're going to treat it as a noun. Okay. We also have, in the next sentence, woman, God, and wish. Wish is not something that you can touch, so it's not a concrete noun, but it is an abstract noun. In the sentence, wish would be a participant. Okay, and in the following sentences, nothing difficult here. People, window, back, house, garden. Now, back can be a preposition, as in, a position of something. But in this case, I'm pretty sure it was the back of the house. So in that case, back is also a noun. We also have garden, flowers, and herbs. Those are all things that you can touch and see, so they're concrete nouns. It is, again, a pronoun. And here we have wall, another pronoun here, no one, which, who, power, and everyone. So, yeah, as I say, all of the words in this column here are potentially participants in a sentence. As for verbs, or verb groups, we have were, wanted, and to have. Now, okay, to is a preposition and have is a verb, but they're not separate. That's the infinitive form of have, to have. So we just treat that whole thing as the verb group. Okay, also we got hoped, would, and grant. So in the lesson about verb groups, I talk about the finite element and the predicator. So the finite element in would grant is would, and then the predicator, or the rest of that verb group, is grant. Okay, similarly, had, could, be, and seen. Here we have dared to go is actually one verb group, even though it's made up of two separate parts, but I won't go into that just now. Belonged and had. So I think that's all fairly straightforward. Adjectives are words which can describe the noun or can classify the noun, and they're usually things that will indicate like shape, color, size, and opinion. So here we have some examples: little and splendid. Little is describing the size, and splendid is giving an opinion of the garden. Okay, beautiful, high, and great. So not a lot of description in this text from Rapunzel. Adverbs are pretty much everything else that you can't classify. So we have once, most, and that's all we have for that category in this text. And also prepositions. So as I've mentioned in the video, prepositions are little grammatical words that normally indicate relations to time and space. So like at, you could say at 3 o'clock, that would be relating the noun to or the action to a time. Or you could say, at the front, and that would be space. Anyway, at, of, and from, by, into, and to. So in this case, the to is not connected to a verb group, so it's a preposition. Okay, as for articles. Now, articles are a kind of determiner. Other determiners are this, these, that, those, my, your. But in this lesson and in this video series, I'm focusing mostly on indefinite articles and definite articles. The indefinite article is a or an, and the definite article is the. So anytime you see a or the, you'll know it's a preposition. And finally, conjunctions. Conjunctions are joining words. They can join nouns to form a noun group, or they can join clauses together to form sentences. So we have and again, but, and because. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll up now to exercise number 2. And in exercise number 2, you need to count the number of sentences and clauses in this little paragraph about koalas. So let's just scroll down again to the answers. Okay, how do you know how many sentences there are? Well, that's pretty easy actually, because a sentence by definition begins with a capital letter and ends with either a full stop or an exclamation mark. So it's very clear that there's just one sentence here in number 1. But how many clauses has it got? Well, as I'm going to mention in some other videos in this series, a sentence needs at least one clause. Okay, so one or more clauses. In this sentence, there's just one clause. And how do we know it? It's because there's just one verb group here, eats. So you can count the number of clauses, generally, by counting the number of verb groups. A koala eats 0.5 kilogram of leaves each day. Eats is the only verb group, so there's only one clause in number 1. In sentence number 2, starting with capital K for koalas, ending with a full stop, that's one sentence. But it's got more than one clause. It has actually 2 clauses. And again, how do we know this? Well, the verb groups are highlighted in green. So are is one verb group, and choosing is another one. 2 verb groups, 2 clauses. Number 3. So around Sydney, red gums and mahoganies are their most favoured trees. So that tells us that there's 1 clause in this sentence. In number 4, we have 2 clauses. We have tallow wood and forest red gum are important, so that's 1 clause. And in the West, koalas prefer, there's your second verb group. So 2 clauses in that sentence. I'm going to talk more about clauses and sentences in a future video, but this is really important just to introduce the idea now. And now I'm moving on to section 3, or exercise 3, I should say. Let me just go up. Okay. Exercise 3 is perhaps more difficult than the other ones because you need to find all of the examples of rank shifting. Now, if you remember from the video, rank shifting means when a clause is functioning at a lower level, such as the group level. So, if you can see a verb group, then you know it's a clause. However, if that verb group is the qualifier in the nominal group, then it's rank shifted. I'll try and explain what I mean more clearly by showing you some examples. Now, these quotes all come from a famous rock and roll musician. His name's his name's Noel Gallagher from the band Oasis. They're a British rock band. And he has some great quotes in these sentences here. First, he says, "I'll never change the music I write." So I could ask you, how many sentences and how many clauses in this instance? Okay, so there's a capital letter, there's a full stop. It's 1 sentence. How many clauses? You need to count the verb groups. So will never change is 1 verb group. That's 1 clause. And write is another verb group. So we have 2 clauses. But only one of them is the main clause. The other one is rank shifted or operating at the function of the group. What's the main verb group? Will never change. I'll never change the music that I write. So this underlined section here is the rank shifted clause, because I write is just part of this noun group or nominal group here, the music. Another way of thinking about this is, you could remove that part, I write. I'll never change the music. And the meaning hasn't really changed a lot, has it? It's still, I'll never change the music, but we just have 1 extra clause which is giving extra information to music. In the same way, with every song that I write, I compare it to the Beatles. That I write is qualifying the noun song. Just like I write is qualifying the noun music. Now in B, it says that I write, and in A, there's no that, but it's exactly the same kind of grammar. You can omit that. So Noel Gallagher could have said, with every song I write, I compare it to the Beatles, with absolutely no difference in the meaning. In C, he says, I'm not that interested in making money. Okay, so making, there's a verb group, there's a clause, and am, there's another clause. I'm not that interested in making money. Now, okay, let's think about it this way. can you take away this underlined section here and replace it with a noun group? You can. So I'm not that interested in money. I'm not that interested in fame, or I'm not that interested in success. Okay, so what that tells us is that this underlined part is functioning just like a noun. But make is a verb. So how can we make the verb function like a noun? We use the ing form. And in traditional grammar, that's called a gerund. In functional grammar, we'll call that an instance of rank shifting, because, make money becomes making money, and it's operating, or it's functioning at the level of a group. It's functioning just like a noun group would function. Okay? D is similar to A and B. Music is a thing that changes people's lives. What kind of thing is it? It changes people's lives. So that meaning is connected to the nominal group or the noun group, a thing. In E, this one's kind of similar to C. I absolutely loved being famous. I absolutely loved the attention. That's a noun group. This is not a noun group, but it's functioning just like one. So it's a clause that has been downgraded to the level of group. F. Success is something you have to chase. So again, you could take away this underlined part and just say success is something, and it would make sense. It's not very clear, so that's why we add in this clause, and it's connected to something. You can't really separate it from the noun something. Making records should be fun. That's kind of similar to making money above. In H, I don't like being on television when I'm playing live. So the same thing again. You could substitute this underlined part for a noun or a noun group, and you can see that this clause is functioning just like a noun. Okay, next one, every song that I play, I wrote myself. Very similar to A at the top. And last, rock and roll to me is all about freedom of thought and to be whatever you want to be. This is a very interesting example because we have to be whatever is one instance of rank shifting, and you want to be is a clause that's connected to the noun whatever. So this is like, this is rank shifting on rank shifting. We have two layers of rank shifting in this one. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. I've talked for long enough. I hope this has been useful for you, and I hope that this has clarified some of the concepts that you've been practicing. So I'm going to do the same thing for the other exercises, and I look forward to seeing you then.